Hi, everybody. Mike Beer here with a look at the featured race at Aqueduct on Sunday afternoon, race number 8. We have stakes action for 3-year-old New York bred fillies. The Maddie May is going to go as race number 8, a one-turn mile with a $100,000 purse. Here is your field. Only 6 entered in the Maddie May for Sunday, and we're going to have a horse I feel like is probably going to wind up being a clear-cut favorite. I guess we'll see how it all plays out. You can see on the morning line, David Aragona made the number 5, Bon Temps, a 7-5 favorite here with the horse drawn right to her outside. The very lightly raced and upwardly mobile Imhavingamoment at 9-5. So I suppose it could get close between them just based on, you know, what's happened so far out on the racetrack. Bon Temps has all of the credentials in this race. A 3-time winner. Only one other horse in this field of 6 has more than a maiden win to her credit. And not only has Bon Temps had 3 wins, but she's a 2-time stakes winner already. The best race of her career, the Maid of the Mist 2 starts back, came over this track, over this distance. She won that race pretty convincingly with an 81 Beyer speed figure, which is the top number in this field. Her other races, it's fair to say, don't really give her that much of an edge on this field, at least as far as figures go. But she's got the credentials. The distance is no problem. She's off of a little bit of a layoff here. And it just kind of feels like her best race makes her really, really tough in this race. But we'll see how short a price she goes off at. And we'll see if anybody can just improve enough to sort of, you know, make her really work for this win, if indeed she does win this race on Sunday afternoon. Let's start out with the Timeform US Pace Projector. See if it gives an advantage to anybody in the field. It really doesn't. They have the one Cairo Sugar up there right off of a maiden win. So she should show speed from the rail. She's not an absolute blazer, but they did put her on the lead last time, and she did wind up finally breaking her maiden and start number 5. The number 6, that second-time starter for Bill Mott, Imhavingamoment. They have her up close as well, and the favorite, Bon Temps, right up close. She's not a slow horse. She doesn't need to be, you know, on the lead to be effective, but in her last 2 starts, and they're both good performances, you know, she kept the pace within range, especially that last one. That pace was pretty solid, and she did not get outrun by it. So I don't really see her being compromised by pace in this race. And again, I just think she's way the horse to beat in here. Let's start taking a look at the field in post position order, starting with the aforementioned Cairo Sugar. She could show speed here. No real surprise to see this filly starting to get better as the distances get longer. Her Damn Spun Sugar was a multiple grade 1 winner, rowdy non-dirt. She was a really, really good horse. Cairo Sugar sort of tipped her hand in that Parks race 3 starts back. The first time they stretched her out beyond sprint distances. She didn't win that day, but she took a real step in the right direction, contested the pace, really made the favorite Mary Q work to get by her in the stretch there, ultimately settled for second, but didn't really give in without a fight there. Mary Q did come back to win her next start with a 75 Beyer speed figure. After that, they cut Cairo Sugar back for her next start. She faced Imhavingamoment, a horse who took all the money there as a first-time starter. Cairo Sugar was really no match for that filly in that race. She did the best she could there. She was only second best. And then they stretched her back out to the mile last time, caught a wet sealed track, put her right on the lead there, won that race pretty easily. It wasn't the most impressive performance in the world. I feel like the horse that ran second to her there may cast a little bit even more doubt on that race, because Two Redheads, the horse who was second, came back last week in a maiden claimer at a really short price here at Aqueduct and was just absolutely terrible. So it kind of feels like Cairo Sugar just found the right field last time, but she has the pedigree to get better as the distances get longer and perhaps with a little more time as well. And maybe she just gets a good trip here. I do think she has to improve. A horse who I find way more interesting in this race than Cairo Sugar is the 2 Luna Loca. Not that she doesn't have some things working against her, but this filly switched back to dirt 2 starts back. They ran her on turf a couple of times. It didn't really work out. They dropped her and brought her back to the main track on November 26th, going this distance here at Aqueduct. Put her right on the lead. She won that race really easily. It didn't come back that fast, but that pace was solid for that level of horse. And she just sort of stretched that field out behind her, got them all in drives pretty early on, and just never really gave him a chance. She was weakening a little bit at the end of that race, but she never was in any danger at all. I really thought she ran well there. They came right back for her next start early in January, cut her back to 6 on a wet track, and once again, she showed really good speed in that race, had no trouble making the lead. I thought went a pretty solid pace once again, and just once again, never gave that field any kind of a chance to get into the race. 73 Beyer that time, which, you know, in some ways puts her closer to the favorite here than any of the other horses. So I know she has a lot to prove. I know the 2 dirt races recently came against weaker horses, but they're both pretty good performances. There's other speed for her to deal with in here. She's also cross-entered into a race on Friday, so we'll see if she elects to go there. But if she waits for this spot, I thought she was an interesting alternative if you were going to try to beat the favorite. Sweetest Princess is the 3. Another horse who's probably going to show speed in this race. The pace projector didn't have her right up there, but in her 2 dirt starts, or 2 starts since they switched to dirt in her last 2, she's been right up close to the pace both times. She did win her dirt debut on this track at this distance back in November, much as the aforementioned Luna Loca did. And she just had a really good trip in that race. Came up to challenge as they came into the stretch of that race, which is better than those horses. It's just sort of edging away at the end. Another one. It wasn't a super impressive win, but she got the job done there. Only a 49 buyer. They stretched her out and threw her into an open stakes race last time in the Busanda, and it didn't really work out. She did make the lead in there. Didn't really have that much trouble getting there, but was always tracked by the favorite in that race. And when they came to challenge Sweetest Princess as that field came to the stretch, she was just no match. She got tired in the stretch, wound up fading back 7 lengths behind the winner there. Could not hang on for third at the end. It wasn't a terrible performance. It wasn't a great performance. This spot is certainly easier than that one. There are ways to make a case for Sweetest Princess in here. I can't say that I love her in this race, but she's 9-2 on the line. Feels like she could be 3rd or 4th choice in here, and if that's the case, I don't think I'd have any real argument with anybody who thought this was the right spot to try her back in with New York breds. Manny Franco takes them out too, so that's another positive for Sweetest Princess. Starry Midnight's the 4. We'll see what happens with this filly. She's going to stretch out for the first time here. Did win her career debut sprinting, a race where she got away last from the gate, was really green. As soon as the kickback started hitting her, she just started climbing, dropped way back out of contention, and then made a pretty big run off the turn into the stretch of that race, and then kept coming and ran down the leaders in there just to get up at the end. It was actually a pretty promising performance, I thought. The problem for Starry Midnight is out of that race, she obviously debuted there for a very, very good first out trainer. Out of that race, so they switched over to the Linda Rice barn. They ran her in the Franklin Square last time, and it was kind of more of the same. Didn't really appear to be a filly who learned any lessons from the debut. Got away from the gate fine, but didn't have any speed. And as soon as the kickback started to hit at her, she just really appeared to resent it, dropped back even further, got a wide trip sort of chasing the pace, but didn't really fire that day. It wasn't a good performance, and it certainly wasn't a step forward off of her career debut. It was a stakes race, though, so maybe it's just a little too tough. She's in another stakes race here. They're going to stretch her out to a mile. I'm not going to suggest she doesn't have any talent, because based on her debut, maybe she does. But man, she's got to turn things around quickly here, and she's just got to run a much better race here going the mile. I don't think I'd be shocked if it happened. I also don't feel like I'm going to bet her in this race. I'll wait and see what happens, but there's a chance that she turns out to be okay. Bon Temps, the 5, is the favorite, 7-5 on the line. Already mentioned, she's a 3-time winner in this field. She's also a 2-time stakes winner already, and the best race of her career came 2 starts back in the Maid of the Mist, going this distance here at Aqueduct. We'll take a look at the replay of that race right now. And it's just, a rock-solid performance here. She was a pretty big price in this race. I don't think many people expected her to necessarily win here. She was over 13-1 in this race, but just sort of kept the pace in range, came clear at the top of the stretch, as you saw there on the replay, and just sort of started driving as some of the other horses fell away. And, gamely got up there to challenge late and got the advantage at the end there. It was way far back. Once she got by Miracle in the stretch there, it was a million lengths back to the rest of that field. 81 buyer in victory that day. They came back with one more start for her as a 2-year-old in mid-December. Aqueduct, they put up a $500,000 purse for the Fifth Avenue division of that New York Stallion Series. So her connections very smartly came back to running that race. They cut her back to 7. She caught a wet sealed track, which she handled when she won her career debut at Churchill. And she came back and won again. It wasn't a fast race, but she wound up staying on really gamely in that stretch. After, riding the inside for a lot of that trip, took over in the stretch and just would not let a couple of other horses who were trying to get involved. They just would not let them get to her and kept clear to the wire. It wasn't a great performance, but it was just another solid effort for her. She has a lot going for her, obviously, in this race, and it just feels like the right, once again, the right kind of spot to come back in. Certainly there's a chance that some of these horses start catching up to Bon Temps now. But as things stand heading into this race on Sunday, she just looks like way the horse to beat to me. The number 6 is Imhavingamoment, and she's, not that hard to make a case for. An expensive Uncle Mo filly. They paid $495,000 for her as a yearling. She debuted going 7 furlongs, but could sometimes be an issue, but she took all the money there. They expected her to run well. That was at a time when Bill Mott, I think he sent out 3 consecutive debut winners within the span of 6 or 7 days. So he had his first time starters going really well there. Imhavingamoment, I think, was the first of those. Got bet hard, kept right up on the pace in that race, took over as that field came to the stretch. Cairo Sugar tried to make a run at her off the turn. She just really never gave that filly a chance, and didn't blow that field away, never changed leads in the stretch, but just kept clear in there. It was a fine performance. 66 Buyer is solid enough. She could easily build on it here. The mile is not supposed to be a real problem for her. She has plenty of pedigree to go longer, and maybe more than anything else, she's found the right field here. Appears to be training very forwardly since that win. Threw in a bullet here last week, going a half mile in 47. There's a lot to like with this filly. I can't say that, assuming they bet this along the morning lines, that I'd be thrilled to take her at 9-5 if Bon Temps was 7-5, but we'll see how they bet it, and I won't be surprised if Imhavingamoment is good enough to beat this field. But if I was going to bet against the favorite, I don't think I'd do it with her. I think I would do it with the 2 Luna Loca. We'll put the picks up there now because I'm not ultimately decided not to try to beat Bon Temps in this race. I'm not going to bet her, but I'm not going to bet against her either. I just think this is the right spot for her. Maybe she can take one more, and then we'll see how close some of these other fillies can get to her down the line. If I was going to take a shot against her, though, I would do it with the 2 Luna Loca and just hope that she could get to the lead here and maybe keep going. I really like her last 2 performances. I went 5-2-6 in the feature race at Aqueduct on Sunday. It's race number 8. It's the Maddie May, $100,000 for 3-year-old filly, New York breds. The approximate post time is 4:26 Eastern Time. Good luck.